voice of Indonesia.
Voice of Indonesia from Indonesia to the world. Welcome back to me, Ahmad Faisal, at the program of special interview. I'm so happy because today, here at the studio of Voice of Indonesia, there is a very famous person. She is an expert, a scientist, an engineer, an artist, a performer, and many more. And let me introduce her. She is Dr. Niamh Shaw, Irish scientist and motivator.
Good afternoon.
Good
how are you?
afternoon,
It's lovely
Mr.
to meet you. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. It's really beautiful studio.
Welcome to Voice of Indonesia, Jakarta.
Thank you. I'm privileged.
Well, we are going to interview you about the chasing a big dream, women empowerment for sustainable development goals achievement.
Very
But
important.
before this, I would like maybe to ask, this really wondering why for me. So can you tell us about the background of your name? This is really
I know it's
nice,
a very
isn't it?
strange name. Yeah, my name is spelled Niam for mother, H for hotel. So that's an Irish name, and it's related to a story from our Celtic tradition, and it's an old fable. About a land of eternal youth called Tir na Nog. And Niamh, that's my name, the character of Niamh is this woman who is from Tir na Nog, and she decides to visit Ireland one day, and she arrives into this small town on the back of a beautiful white horse. And there's a young man in the town called Oisín, again, another strangely spelt Irish name. You don't need to know how to spell it. Oisín is his name. And they instantly fall in love, as they do in all these fables. They instantly fall in love, and they spend the day together. And the day comes to an end, and she says, I have to return now to Tir na Nog. And he said, please come back. And she said, I can't come back. She said, but you can come with me.
Yes.
You know, I think we should get together. So he goes to Tir na Nog with her. And she said to him, before you go, you have to realize that we never get old in Tir na Nog. And so if you come back to Ireland, you will have aged many, many years in comparison to people here. So he decides that he's going to do that anyway. But then he misses his family and goes back to Ireland maybe a month or so later. But a month in Tir na Nog is like 40 years in Ireland. And when he goes back to his old town, all
Right.
his family are gone, everyone's gone. And she told him the only way to stay safe was to stay on the white horse when he goes back to his old town. As he's leaving, he sees an old man carrying a big bag of potatoes, and he tries to help him from the horse, but he slips and falls to the ground, and he dies instantly. So that's the story
Okay.
of my name.
nice story.
Very
Interesting.
tragic story. That's the story.
Okay. Dr. Niamh,
Yeah.
actually, we would like to know about your coming to Jakarta, Indonesia. What is it for?
Well, I've been invited by the Irish Embassy, and I'm delighted to be here, to celebrate our national holiday, which is St. Bridget's Day. St. Bridget's Day is tomorrow, February the 1st, and it's in honour of one of our patron saints. We have, everybody knows about St. Patrick's Day, which is March 17th. He's one of our patron saints. So she's our patroness saint, St. Bridget. And she was a mighty woman that lived in 350 to 400 AD. And she came from a wealthy family, but decided to step away and help the sick and the elderly. And she became our patron saint. So we associate her with strong women. And so the Irish Embassy here in Indonesia invited me to come and share what I do, which is talk to people about science, but also to explain how many Irish women who have embraced technology and the sciences, and we want to promote that and the idea that women can be anything they want to be. So I'm really, really happy to be here.
So how long will you be in Jakarta? Is it also related to such, I can say, joy in research, maybe?
Yes, absolutely. It's about research. I'm here until February the 1st. I fly out the afternoon of February the 1st. So I arrived on Sunday, and I've been meeting universities and schools and different groups of people and women that are also working in the profession of science and technology. And it's just been a fantastic few days.
Excellent.
It's been really great.
Okay, so Dr. Niamh, besides being a scientist and motivator, you are also known globally as an engineer, an artist, a performer, a writer, and many more names of titles based on your works and you have created. So the question among those names and attributions, what best describes you actually?
That is a great question. I think I'm somebody, the best description of me is I'm a communicator, and I love connecting human stories with science. That's what I love doing. I love finding somebody, you hear about scientific theories or you hear about achievements in science. I always like to know about the person behind the science.
That's the focus of your study.
Yeah, always about that. So I go on adventures and I have different experiences, and I'm always trying to find my human story, because then I can communicate it to people who have no confidence around science. So that's what I try to do always in my work.
Can you tell us some, names of works that you have already created?
I have, I've written 3 theatre shows, and that was as a writer. But most recently, I've just returned from the Antarctic. So I was on a voyage with 100 other female scientists from all around the world, including Indonesia, by the way. There was a lady from Indonesia on the ship. And we went together on a voyage to the Antarctic for 3 weeks. We all are really interested in our planet. So we talked about climate change as part of it. And
space.
Yeah, and leadership. And so that's one of the things that I did, which was incredible. Last July, I was in Botswana in the desert for 6 days working with a team of scientists that were looking at a dry lake called the Makgadikgadi salt pan because it's similar structure to Mars. So they were using an instrument to see if they could predict where water is underground in the lake, because they can then use that same analysis for determining where water is on Mars. I've been on a simulated Mars mission in the desert in America, living as if we were on Mars for 15 days. Every time I go outside, I would wear a spacesuit. As I say, I've written 3 theatre shows. I've done a zero gravity flight. So this is an airplane flight that you take to feel what it's like to be weightless. I lecture on humanities around space, speak to schools. I do reports for the BBC and for our Irish national radio station and television station. And I write articles for our national paper about space and for a magazine called BBC Sky at Night magazine. So
do you also, when you did research talking about Mars planet, in case of that, do you also share the information to many scientists about it?
Yes, I do. I focus more on the general public. For me, I really feel very strongly about helping people re-engage with what they're curious about.
What they're curious?
Yeah, because I'm very lucky that I grew up in a house where we talked about science a lot. And so it was normal for me to enjoy science. It was normal for me to study engineering and science. But when I was an artist working with different people who make theatre, I realised that their upbringing was very different to mine. They weren't having conversations about science, and their confidence around science was very different from my confidence. And I understood then that maybe if I go on different missions and expeditions, I go back and I talk about my experiences and I talk about the human side of them, that people who aren't already engaged in science or interested in science, maybe I can help them develop a new relationship around science and stuff. So that's what I do. So I go on lots of different adventures, I explain them, and then we always get to the science eventually.
Dr. Niamh, I'm also interested in asking about your job or maybe like a project coming not only into Jakarta but also you visited Bandung.
Yes.
Can you tell us what did you do in Bandung actually?
Oh, Bandung was amazing. I spent the day yesterday at ITB, the Institute of Technology in Bandung.
Institute of Technology,
yeah,
okay.
And I was hanging out with the astronomy department, which was fantastic. And they asked me to give a talk to their students, and the students attended online by Zoom and also in person. Okay. And they also had alumni there and some postgraduate students and some lecturers. And I told them about my passion for space, and they were very interested to understand what Ireland is doing in the space sector, what Europe is doing in the space sector. And I wanted them to know about the opportunities that they had available to them in Ireland and Europe. And then we had lunch and we continued our conversations, and you know, they want to work more with Ireland. So we're working with the Irish Embassy to make that happen. So, yeah.
Okay. So let's turn to another, not another space, but another discussion a little bit, Dr. Niamh. So you have also such as a motivator actually, how you have to set like important to have such big dream. So
Yeah.
how can we realize about big dream and how to
I think
materialize about that?
Yeah, I think what I've learned as I've kind of been, you know, trying to achieve my own big dream, which is to report about space from space, whether it's the International Space Station or on the moon, is I think for many years I was almost afraid to pursue my passion for space. And I was waiting for someone to tell me that I'm good enough to do that. And what I realized is that nobody ever comes to tell you that you're good enough, and nobody will ever tell you when the right time to begin, you know, pursuing the thing that you love. And what I have learned is that the only person that was holding me back from achieving what I wanted to do with my life was myself, and the ideas and the perception that I had of myself in here. And so I had to really think about, well, what is the story that you're telling yourself about what you can and cannot do? And when I started looking at that, I was like, well, why can't I do this? And you start to look at that and you throw them away. So then you just leave yourself a path to move forward.
The straight way.
A straight way, and ask for help. And ask for people to mentor you and tell people about what you want to do. And people will usually want to help. When they see somebody who has a passion, people naturally want to help. So let people support you and aim high, aim as high as you can, and don't be afraid to fail, because you always learn. You always learn something from anything that you do. Yeah.
So Dr. Niamh, we have also such question from our listener.
Yes.
Let me ask you the question. What if we do have big dreams and want to realize them, but still haunted by a mistake in the past? Sometimes making him blame himself, and the problem is the mistake not only affect himself, but also his family.
Yeah.
This question is from Lala Kaz from Instagram. How do you see this?
Well, I think that's a great question. And I think the fact that Lalakaz has already figured that out means that he's ready for his big dream. Because I think you have to accept the life that you have, and you have to accept that everything that happens to you has happened, and you can't change the past, but you can use what you've learned from the past. And I'm sure that whatever happened to Lalakas, they learned something from that experience.
Yes.
They certainly learned that they have gone off the track, and they seem to know what it is they want to do. So my question to them is like, well, what's stopping you from doing the thing that you want to do? There's nothing stopping you except yourself, and forgive yourself for whatever mistakes you've made, but you've probably learned from those mistakes, and you can share what you've learned with people, because if it's happened to you, more than likely it's probably happened to other people, and you need to share what you learned out of that experience.
So we must learn from what we have done before.
Yeah, exactly. And don't let it stop you just because you spent some years in a direction that you now wish was different. You could, I mean, I'm on my third career. My dream to become a reporter about space from space is kind of the third phase of my career. I wish I had done it when I was in my 20s, but I haven't. So for many years, I was sitting there going, but time is still ticking. So just start, and don't have any expectations about when you're going to get there or what that's going to look like. Just lean into the thing you want to do, and just do something small every day, and tell people, that this is what you want to do, and just see what happens. Just let go. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Inspiration, we got it. So the last question,
Yeah.
Dr. Niamh, Do you have any inspirational word for our audience and also viewers of Voice of Indonesia?
Yeah, I love this quote. I'm going to quote from an astronaut called Mae Jemison, and she's an astronaut, and she was the very first American woman of color who got to go to space, and she spent some time on the International Space Station and the space shuttle. And Mae defied all the odds in becoming an astronaut, and she says, don't let anybody rob you of your curiosity, your creativity, or of your dreams. It's your life to make what you can with it. So just go on and embrace and lead the life that you want. So I just think that that's fantastic. So everybody has the right to be happy. Everybody has the right to be curious. Everybody has the right to live a life that fulfills them. So follow your passion and all the rest kind of falls into place.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Niamh Show, for your time, attention to come here today.
Thank you.
Actually, there are lots of questions that would like to explore to you, but because of our limited time, so we must end our
another time
discussion.
Another time.
Yes. So, listener and our viewers of Voice of Indonesia, for you, and would like to know about the information, and also about Dr. Niamh Show research and also motivation, you can also maybe follow her Instagram, social media. Can you tell about your Instagram and social media?
Yeah, my Instagram social media is my name. So I have a doctor in front of it. So it's DR_, which is the dash that's under, on the bottom. Niamh, that's NIAM for mother, H for house, _ Shaw, SHAW. That's it.
Don't forget to see and also comment about her social media. Okay, thank you very much. And that was our special interview with Dr. Niamh Show as Irish scientist and motivator. I'm Ahmad Faisal. See you next time and bye-bye.
Voice of Indonesia.